Jesus freak here. So, I was looking around at the Greek interlinear for the Old Testament that I have. Turns out that there's a bunch of places where the editor stealthily edited it to conform to the Hebrew, meaning it's useless for my purposes. For example, the so-called Elhanan verse in 2 Samuel has been partially rewritten. So I asked for advice and got a link to a site called BibleBento.com, I believe it was, and they have an interlinear based on the Ralph's Septuagint from 1935. It's probably going to be the best tool I have for what I'm trying to do. You might ask, what am I trying to do? I'm trying to see if I can make something that reads as close as possible to the KJV, but with a Greek base instead of a Hebrew one. It might sound daft, but think about it. There's always people who are like, oh, it's the Bible of the Apostles, it's the Bible of the Apostles. And yet every so often you have wonks trying to come up with some conspiracy about, this version of the Bible, this version. And I think this would be the easiest way to produce sort of a side-by-side and say, see, they're not that different. The original ideas, I think I mentioned, came to me while I was doing some world building stuff with a modified version of ChatGPT. And I came up with this idea that people might take might have taken a King James Bible and tried to conform it to the Septuagint because it's just easier to do that than to translate the Septuagint from scratch. And that way, you don't have to deal with, what's the right literary register or whatever. Just make it sound like the KJV. So, obviously, there's more books in the Septuagint, and how many would be, would want to be included. There's the so-called Jerusalem canon, which is the same as the Catholic canon minus Second Esdras plus Prayer of Manasses. Let me correct that. Second Esdras isn't in the Catholic canon. I should have said plus first Esdras, but not second. Prayer of Manasseh, Psalm 151, and third and fourth Maccabees. Now, in my conceit, the canon they'd be using would include first and second, but not third and fourth. So it'd be a slightly different canon. You'd still have, 151 Psalms and all that. So it'd basically be the same Apocrypha as the KJV minus second Esdras. Well, why not second Esdras? Second Esdras is, I believe, an early 2nd century Christian work written in Latin. If I'm talking, what would a Greek speaking or Greek originating group use as their canon, they'd absolutely not use a version of the they'd absolutely not use the book of the Bible that was written in Latin. Plus, there's some serious issues with the text. The King James Version kind of fuzzes us out by removing, for example, a phrase from 2nd Esdras 3:1, where it seems to refer to Shealtiel and Ezra as the same person. They're not even of the same tribe. So, yeah, it's got issues. So, we'll see how this shape up. I had to throw out a bit of work once I realized that the source I was working with had been modified so it wasn't useful for what I wanted to get, false negatives where something had matched the Hebrew where it wasn't supposed to match the Hebrew, as well as differences in spellings and names and stuff. Have to see how this comes out. Anyway, Jesus freak out.